let's start with what's happening right here in Louisiana. So let's start with what happened last week. The Supreme Court struck down the congressional map. The House primaries are suspended, and now we have people like Lindsey Garcia, who filed a lawsuit, as well as Congressman Cleo Fields jumping aboard, and several others. What's your take on that?
My take is that we have an election on May 16th, but early voting till the 9th. Now, we can't control those other events. All we know, there's an incredibly important election for the United States Senate, and elections as well. For example, the city of St. George with the constitutional amendment for their school district and other things. You need to be heard. Your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. So early voting is until May 9th. The election is May 16th. Get out there and vote.
So you think the Supreme Court got it right?
I can't comment on that.
Okay.
The Supreme Court made their decision. We have to live with it. Now, what we do know is that this is a vote about the present and the future of Louisiana. I'm the senator who's brought $13.5 billion in one infrastructure bill to our state for roads and bridges and high-speed internet, flood mitigation, rebuilding our coastline, and the people running against me oppose that bill. They would rather we not receive the $13.5 billion. That's the choice in this election. And did I say early voting until the 9th and the election is May 16th? Unless you're voting for my opponent, then it's May 17th.
Now, speaking of early voting, we already know about 100,000 ballots have already gone out. So what do you have to say to that group of people who are still either undecided or still trying to figure out who to vote for, but who may be questioning whether or not their vote and the integrity of the election with everything going on?
So I understand that. This has almost been designed to confuse the voter. And if you resent the fact that it's been designed to confuse the voter, go vote. That's how you prove that no, the election should happen like it's going to happen. And go vote. I would say vote Bill Cassidy, but I would say vote for the present and the future of Louisiana. And I've been all about the present and the future of Louisiana. And so I think the answer is go vote.
A recent poll that we did actually just last week showed that it is still a very competitive race. 22% of Republicans are still undecided. What's your message to those Republicans who still have not made their mind up on who they're going to vote for?
Yeah, my message to those Republicans is that this should be about the present and the future of Louisiana. And if you want a state in which there's infrastructure spending to make you less likely to flood, to rebuild our coastline, to have better roads and bridges, other things I've worked with President Trump on, for example, closing the southern border, making sure that there's tools for law enforcement to push back upon fentanyl. He signed into law recently my Halt Fentanyl Act, calling it one of the most important bills he would sign. Money for mental illness, issues regarding dyslexia. I've been very active working for my state and my country. I've passed dozens of bills. President Trump has signed into law. My opponent, she has not had a single bill passed. If you want a better future and a better present, I'm your guy.
Now, we know there are several other things going on right now. So let's speak about the economy. We have high gas prices, food, inflation, a number of other things happening. Now, what is your take on that in terms of, helping with inflation?
Affordability is an issue. Gas, groceries, healthcare, people can't afford it. So I've introduced legislation and concepts to address that. Recently introduced my MVP plan to lower the cost of health care. Money in the pocket of the person with insurance, with price transparency to bring her value for the patient. Money, value, patient. And the money in the pocket would give a family of four up to $2,000, in which they could use for that earache for their daughter. The price transparency, the daughter has the earache, say to your app, urgent care centers near me, which one has the cheapest visit for someone with an earache? And so with the money in your pocket, you get the best value. That is the way that you help address affordability right now. By the way, President Trump recently signed into law a bill that I negotiated to lower pharmaceutical cost. That'll be coming on board soon. I've also recently introduced a plan to lower energy cost. There are things we can do, I am doing them.
You mentioned President Trump, and of course, last week he criticized you over, his failed nomination, over the failed nominee for, Surgeon General. He actually said voters should vote you out. What's your response to that?
President Trump may not like me, but we work really well together. So he has signed into law 4 bills that I either wrote or negotiated over the last 4 or 5 months. About a month and a half ago, his team was in my office asking me to help write legislation to lower pharmaceutical costs. And then right after that, his team called me to talk about judges and nominations. We've continued to work together. You don't have to like someone to work well together. I'll also point out, he has signed into law, I don't know, bunches of bills that I've written. He has never signed into a law any bill that the Congresswoman has written. If you want somebody working with President Trump for the best of our state and our country, I'm the one with the proven track record of doing so.
Now, with Trump also tied up in several legal battles, do you believe that affects how voters here in Louisiana are viewing his endorsements in this race?
I can't argue. I just don't know that. All I know is that when you look at it, people want someone who's delivered. I'm the one who's delivered. It blows my mind. Again, I negotiated a bill to bring $13.5 billion in infrastructure spending to our state, creating better paying jobs. You can afford a lot more things when you have a better paying job. My opponents oppose that bill. Don't give us the $13.5 billion, they're saying. I'm like, why not? By the way, it was paid for. It was fiscally sound. Just recently, the Trump administration released $1.35 billion to make sure that everyone has access to high-speed, affordable internet. That was what I negotiated in that bill, and my opponents oppose it. Now, if you want someone who's delivered for our present, delivering for our future, I'm your guy.